slide toward the bottom between these two elevation tags, make your first click. Move your mouse straight up, then click again just a little bit below this top elevation tag, but straight up at a 90-degree angle. If you zoom in at the top, you'll notice that this is a number 1. This is our first grid bubble. Revit likes to keep things in order, which means the next one that we draw will be number 2. The one after that will be number 3. The same thing would happen if we had letters. So if this was going to be A, the next one would be B, and the following one would be C. Zoom back out. Move your cursor down toward the bottom of the screen again. When you see these temporary dimensions show up, I don't care exactly what the dimension is at the moment. We will adjust this later. So just click when you see that temporary dimension. Move your cursor up on the screen. When you're lined up with the column grid bubble up at the top of this grid line, you'll see a dashed line going between the two grid bubbles. Click when you see that dashed line. This means that these two grid bubbles are lined up with one another. Let's do the same thing for the third grid bubble. Come straight up and click again. Now, if we wanted to have a specific distance between these, we can do that as well. As soon as you see this temporary dimension show up, in this case it shows up as being 25 feet on my screen, type in 20. This is going to give us a 20-foot distance between the first one that we place and the next one that we place. Hit enter, and you can see that it's now made a 20-foot spacing between this one, which was the last one that we had placed, and this one, which is the spot that we just clicked. Come up, click there, and do this one more time. You can either type in a dimension or just eyeball it, clicking and moving straight up. If we zoom in, we'll see this 1 through 5. Because of that order, it means that the next one that we will have will be number 6. The reality is, though, is I want to go from right to left, and in doing that, we want to switch this from being numbers to letters. There's really no way to be able to do this on the fly, so we have to place the first one in and then adjust it after it's been placed. So click over here to the right-hand side, move over, and click again. You'll see a number 6 show up. Hit escape a couple of times on the keyboard. Select on the grid line, click where the number 6 is at, and change that to be an A, and then click out here into space. Then hit escape on the keyboard to get out of the command. The next thing we'll do is draw in 2 more, so we'll be drawing in B as well as C. And since this last one was A, Revit will automatically label these as B and C. Once again, under the Architecture tab, above Datum, select on Grid. Move your mouse down when it's lined up with the endpoint of the other one. Click, move over, and click again. And do the same thing one more time. Zoom out just a touch. We're going to see that our grid lines come down pretty far, actually a little bit farther than what we probably need them to be. We will adjust these after the fact. What I would like to do now is be able to equally space these between number 1 and number 5. To do that, we need to add a few dimensions in. So come up here to Annotate, select on Aligned, and click the line associated with grid number 1. Then click the line associated with number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, then click out in space. It's important that you click out in space because if you hit the space bar, the dimension will go away. After clicking all the way on across, click the little EQ that shows up. This will equally space between the first one and the last one in the dimension string. Now do the same thing between A, B, and C. Click out in space and select the EQ. We also want to be able to have these spaced a specific dimension apart. To be able to accomplish that, let's drop in 2 overall dimensions. Click where the number 1 is at, click where the number 5 is at, click out in space. Do the same thing with A and C, click out in space. When you're done with that process, hit escape a couple times on your keyboard to get out of the command. Zoom in so that you can see this dimension. In this case, it's showing up as being 83 feet. What I'd really like this to be is 80 feet. So move your cursor over and select on the line associated with your grid number 5. Come back over again. You'll notice that this dimension is now blue. Whenever that dimension is blue, it means that you can change that information. So click where it has 83 feet and just type in 80. This will give you an 80-foot spacing between the first and the last. and then click somewhere in the white drawing area. It's automatically moved these grid bubbles, and they're continuously equally spaced. Over here at the side, I don't want this to be 40 feet 6 inches. I'd like it to be 48 feet. So move your mouse down, select on the grid line, come up, select the dimension, type in 48, then click Add in Space. Finally, to see that equal spacing, move your mouse up, select on the dimension string, and you notice it says Equality Text. Change that to be Value underneath your properties. So now they're spaced every 20 feet. And do the same thing on the side. So by drawing in your column grid bubbles and placing these dimensions, you can quickly draw in your column grid lines. We can start off by coming underneath the Architecture tab, finding the pull-down menu for column, then selecting Structural Column off of the list. The first difference between a structural column and an architectural column is the actual structural properties and dimensions of that column. In this instance, we'll be able to find that underneath Edit Type once a command has been selected. Here we can find the dimensions associated with the column, as well as area, weight. That's the kind of information that architectural columns do not contain. You can select on OK to this. Next, over here on the ribbon, we can see that there's two different kinds of columns that we can place. One is a vertical column and the other is a slanted column. All architectural columns by default are automatically vertical. If you want an architectural column to slant, you have to model it that way in the family editor. Structural columns are not that way. Structural columns you can have be vertical or slanted simply by clicking on the icon up here at the top of the screen. Another difference between an architectural column and a structural column is here in the options bar, where we can see this is 1-click and 2-click. Structural columns, when slanted is chosen, will allow us to click once for the base and second for the top of the column. By doing it this way, we'll be able to specify the point where that column will begin, as well as the second point in order to be able to create the slant. Architectural columns natively inside of their properties already have that built in. If we select back on vertical, we'll see that the only option that's available to us now is going to be either depth or height. Make sure that height is chosen for this exercise so that the column will go up when it comes time to draw it. Another special feature associated with the structural columns is Add Grids and Add Columns. Add Columns will automatically center structural columns anywhere an architectural column is located at. Add Grids will automatically center the structural columns any place a structural grid is located at. Let's go ahead and take a look at grids. So select Add Grids off of the ribbon. Zoom in slightly to the small structural grid that we have drawn in place. Left click once and hold the mouse button down. Highlight over the structural grid. When we let go of the button, this particular column size and type will then get placed at each location where this structural grid is crossing each other. So let go of your button. You'll immediately see each of those columns in place and click the big green check mark. That's a feature that architectural columns do not have. They cannot automatically attach themselves to structural grids because they're simply architectural and they're not structural in the nature. If we would move a structural column though, up here and have it touch a wall, and then select any place along the wall. One of the things that you'll notice about the structural column, if you had to skip a couple of times to get out of the command after placement, is that the structural column will just sit there. It doesn't change, it doesn't have any property differences associated with it. On the other hand, this is one of the major differences with architectural columns. If we look underneath Architecture, click the pull-down list and select the architectural column. The fact this is rectangular doesn't really matter. This could be any style of architectural column, no matter how ornate, and it would still have these properties when it comes time to select against this wall. Architectural columns, unlike their structural counterparts, if they touch a layer of material, they'll automatically take on the properties of that layer of material that they're touching along walls and surfaces. This allows us to do such things as pilasters very quickly and easily using architectural columns. You'll also notice that with architectural columns that we don't have all the rest of those tools that we had available with our structural columns. That's one of the major differences or advantages to using structural columns, is that they have extra tools for quick and easy placement. But the advantage of the architectural column is that whenever you place them up against an object, they'll take on the properties and materials of that particular object type. So architectural columns allow you to place them, and they'll take on the properties of any object that they select, while structural columns will allow you to place them along column grids or even inside of existing architectural columns by selecting on the appropriate tool. In this case, I'll select at columns, select the inside of this particular architectural column, and click the big green check mark in order to place. In this exercise, we're going to learn the two different ways to load architectural and structural columns into a project environment. To do this, move up here to underneath the Architecture tab, come over here to where we have Column, expand this out, and execute the Architectural Column command. You'll notice that underneath the Type Selector list under Properties, we currently only have a rectangular column loaded in our project, and it happens to have 3 different sizes associated with it. What I'd like to do is load in a round architectural column into the project. To do this, since we already have the command active, the quickest way would be to come over to Load Family. There are technically 2 different spots where we can load columns into a project. The first one is right here at Columns, and ultimately this is where we're going to be going. This is where all of our architectural columns are located at. There is another spot called Structural Columns. Anything underneath the Structural Columns folder is going to be specific, though, for the Structural Columns command. So we don't want to do this right now because we're going to be loading in architectural columns, and that's what we have loaded as our command. So come back up here to the top and double-click where it has Columns. Here we have a few of the default column shapes. You can see that we have some of the more ornate ones, including Doric. But the one that I want to choose is going to be the round column. So highlight on round column and click on Open. When you do this, over here underneath Properties on the Type Selector list, we'll now see the round column family has been added, as well as 3 different sizes associated with our round column family. Now, these were architectural columns, and if at this point I wanted to place them in, I could. But let's see the process of being able to load in our structural columns next. Hit Escape a couple times on the keyboard to get out of the command. Now technically we could have went through that exact same process and then selected on Structural Column, Load Family, and then loaded in Structural that way. The other option though that we have is, instead of coming through the command itself, is to come up here to the Insert tab and selecting on Insert and simply selecting on Load Family. Find that Structural Column folder, double click on it. Next, find the shape that we want to be able to load into the project. I'm going to double click on Steel in this case. We can see the different shapes that are available. I want to choose the very bottom one, the W-wide flange column, and click on Open to that. Now, unlike that architectural column, once you load that family in, it will load all the sizes in as well if you don't have the defaults changed from what they are. By default, with structural columns, you'll get a list of all the different sizes that are available. So instead of loading all those sizes in at once, the structural columns will allow you to choose which sizes you want to be able to load off of the list. And you can see that you have basically the entire structural steel catalog and its sizes loaded here into the project. Just so you can see it, I'm going to highlight on the very last one, the W4x13, and click on OK. It may give you a big warning message saying, do you want to override the existing version? And that's okay. Go ahead and do that. It's not going to actually hurt anything. Basically, it's saying there's already a W size column loaded into the project. Do you want to add extra sizes to it? And we're going to be told yes to that question. Now that we've done it, you'll notice that it's not automatically trying to place it because we're not actually automatically in the command. We would have to once again come back underneath Architecture, execute the Structural Column command, go to the pull-down menu, and right here where we have the W4x13, this is that new size that we had selected off of the list. And if we would pick it, move over to the drawing area to place it, we would now have that W4x13 column inside of our project. So just remember there's two different ways to be able to load your different kinds of families related to columns into a project. The first way is to actually activate that particular command and select on Load Family. The other way that you can load in families, in this case column families, into your project is to move over to the Insert tab, click on Load Family, and find the appropriate family style. In this exercise, we're going to learn how to copy columns from one floor up to the next floor. Now, the reason why you'd ever want to do that is because when you first model a three-dimensional column like this, you want it to be modeled to real-world dimensions, such as if that column only goes from the first floor up to the second floor, you want to make sure that it's modeled that way. Then, on the second floor and the third floor, you want to copy those columns up and stack them on top of each other. We can see this a little bit better if we flip to a south elevation view underneath our project browser. So under the project browser, find elevations and double-click on south. In this case, we can see that we have our different columns and they're going from the first floor up to the second floor. Now I want to have the ability to copy these from second to third and then third up to the fourth floor. In this case, the fourth floor is actually our roof level. So to be able to do this, our best bet is actually to go into a plan view and select the columns from there. Double-click underneath the level 1 floor plan views. Zoom in so we're in a spot where we can see the most of our columns. Move your mouse down, get fairly close, farthest to the left and bottom column that we can. Click, hold your mouse button down, and draw a window around each of those columns. And then just let go whenever you're done. If you should happen to accidentally choose something that isn't a column, you have the option of coming up here to Filters and select a little filter icon up here on the ribbon. And if more than one thing that isn't a column is checkmarked, just clear those check marks out and then select on OK. The next thing that we want to do with all these selected is move over here and underneath the clipboard panel, you want to select on Copy to Clipboard. This is the same as if you were in other Windows programs and you did a Control-C to copy to the Windows clipboard. I want to put extra emphasis on the fact this is not the same as Revit's copy command. This is a different type of copy. So once again, underneath the clipboard, select on Copy to Clipboard. When you do this, you'll notice that the Paste command becomes active. Don't click on the picture, select on the word Paste. There'll be a few different options available to us, but the one that I want to do is Align to Selected Levels. So select Align to Selected Levels. This will then give us the option to choose which levels that we want to be able to copy our columns up to. In this case, highlight level 2, hold down the Control key, select on level 3, move down and click on OK. Now initially on your screen you might see Revit think for a couple of moments, but you won't see any changes, and that's because those changes have now occurred on the upper two levels. If we look at this in a 3D view though, which you'll remember you can either come up to your 3D house and select on that, or under the project browser under 3D views, double click on 3D. You'll now be able to see those columns have been copied up from floor to floor. Now this trick doesn't just work with columns. This also works with walls and with floors and anything you might want to be able to duplicate from one floor to the next floor. In fact, we'll probably be doing that whenever we're going to be working with our floors later on in the project. Remember, if you ever need to be able to copy your columns from one location to the next location, in other words, from floor to floor, all you need to do is window around them. After they've been selected, come up, select on Copy the Clipboard, then Paste, Align to Selected Levels, choosing the levels you'd want your columns to go to. Now I'm going to come down here to South and double click on that.